Alright guys, how you guys doing? In this video I will be reviewing the MacBook Air 13-inch 2011 version. I've been using it for the past 2 weeks and I feel now is the right time to kind of go over it, give you my thoughts and my opinion on it. In a nutshell, it is probably the best notebook lineup I've ever used, hands down. Now the reason why I went for a 13-inch model was simply because I wanted a built-in SD card reader, which of course the 11 inches don't have. So an SD card reader was a must for me. The 13-inch size, the bigger the better, or at least that's what she kind of tells me all the time. Out of the 4 MacBook Air models offered by Apple, the 2 that I would highly recommend you look into is the high-end 11-inch and the low-end 13-inch. I think they offer the best value and the best spec. The low-end 11-inch is not worth investing in. You know, 2 gigs of RAM is not enough. Same with the storage, 64GB. Whereas the 13-inch high-end model is just too expensive just for double the storage and just a tiny bump in processor, which you probably, the average Joe won't even notice, and it's a £250 difference there. So starting off with the external side of things, in terms of design, there's no difference from its predecessor. It's exactly the same. The port allocation is right where it was in the previous version. You've got the MagSafe on the top left hand corner. Below that you have the USB port, then is the headphone port, then you've got a microphone. On the other side you've got the new Thunderbolt port. Below that you've got the USB port, and below that you have the SD card, and of course the 11 inches don't have an SD card. In terms of weight, it's 1.35 kg, that's roughly about £3. One of the reasons the MacBook Air is so successful and powerful and a pleasure to use is the weight. You can just carry it anywhere and you're not going to be burdened down with the weight. In terms of heat and how hot the MacBook Airs get, they don't get hot at all. It's quite surprising actually, because when you look at a MacBook Air or you hold it, you're like, because this is so thin and lightweight, of course it's going to get hot. And as Steve Jobs would say, it's magical, because these do not get hot at all, which is quite good. I've used the MacBook Pros, the 15-inch, the 13-inch and the 17-inch, and they are noticeably hot, especially if you're using them for long periods of time and you've got it on your lap. You could literally fry an egg on your MacBook Pro, whereas the MacBook Airs are amazing. Moving on to the internals, this is where the magic happens for the MacBook Air 2011 lineup. There are no external changes, the internals is where it goes down, Bobby Brown. Apologies for the randomness. But the internals, you've got a dual-core processor, which is going to make editing, video work, audio work much more of a breeze, faster. You've got a backlit keyboard, which is something which they removed from the previous generation and brought it out back in the new 2011 versions, thinking it was something new. Steve Jobs, no sir, this is not a new feature, this is something you've just brought back out to say welcome back kind of thing. Why oh why did they take it away? But it's back, I'm not going to moan. Great feature, great for those moments where you're going to be using it in the dark, the plane, the train. You don't want the next passenger sitting next to you to just, walk up and punch you in the face because you're putting the overhead light on. The keyboard is just much more easier to the eyes. You can get work done. The hardware is not the limitation. The work maybe, but the hardware just makes it much more easy to kind of sink in. There's also a Thunderbolt chipset located on the motherboard of the MacBook Air itself. It's scaled down when compared with the iMac and the MacBook Pros simply because of the size, but there's no real-time test that I can provide simply because there are no Thunderbolt devices on the market yet. But hey, we've got it anyway. In terms of onboard storage, Apple's continuing on to tradition from the previous year where they introduced the flash-based storage. You've got the same kind of flash-based technology inside the MacBook Airs. You've got variants of 64GB, 128 and 256GB. Same with the previous generation of MacBook Airs. Word of warning, if you are getting a MacBook Air 2011, make sure to check the manufacturer of the onboard storage. There are 2 manufacturers for the MacBook Air 2011s. You've got Toshiba and Samsung. In a nutshell, the Samsung drives are faster in terms of read and write speeds. Now, to find out how to check what kind of manufacturer you've got, simply follow the on-screen instructions. And basically, the idea here is if you've got a faster hard drive, then of course it's going to be much faster in opening up applications, booting up. The reason, Apple haven't provided the reason why they're using 2 different manufacturers. My guess is that Samsung are just simply not capable of providing so many chips for the MacBook Air range that Apple have had to call in other manufacturers who can't meet the same requirements as Samsung. So make sure you check what kind of hard drive you get. You're paying that much anyway for the same machine, so why not just check it in? And it's kind of a give or take. You'll have to send it back, get a new one in, check that machine. If that's still got Toshiba in, send that back and kind of go over the same process. In terms of RAM, it's a shame that they're still using 2GB and 4GB. There's no upgradable option. You can't upgrade the RAM yourself. That is a shame. You know, they should have at least offered 8, considering, you know, they had 2 and 4 for the previous generation. Onboard graphics, they've moved from Nvidia to Intel. It's apparently not on par. You know, the Nvidia still wins. I've done several gaming tests. If you want to check them out, you can click on the annotations on the screen or visit iGlaswegian.com. Just to conclude this review, the MacBook Air 13-inch 2011 is the best MacBook that I've ever owned. Hands down, sweet machine to use. This is what we should have had in 2010 when Apple introduced the MacBook Airs. But nevertheless, we've got a powerful system inside. You've got the backlit keyboard. The screen is absolutely gorgeous to look at. Much, much better than the standard screens you get on the MacBook Pros. These new MacBook Airs for sure can be your primary machine, your only machine. Hook up an external monitor and you're good to go. Best of both worlds. The processor, you know, would keep you going. So would the RAM, the flash storage. Coupled with line and multi-touch, you are on a winner. I've got a dedicated playlist for the new MacBook Air 2011 which covers speed tests, gaming tests, comparison with the MacBook Pros. So if you aren't sure of which machine to go for, at least check out the playlist. It might help you, give you an idea of what to expect in reality. Guys, that is it for this video. Do check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/theunits3 or iGlaswegian.com. And it'd be quite nice if you check out my new venture, which is ayegear.com. So if you are looking to get an 11-inch MacBook Air, this is something that, you know, you might be interested in. But guys, let me know if you've bought a MacBook Air yourself. Which version did you get? Why did you get it? What do you think? Is it better than the previous Macs that you had? Or is this your first Mac? What are your kind of initial thoughts? I will, as always guys, see you guys in another life. Cheers!